Off top, after Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak, he missed one game and then went on a 16-game hitting streak. So the man's hitting streak could have been 72, making the record even more unbreakable. Charlie loves Joe DiMaggio. Play the music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
Welcome to the Domonique Foxworth Show. We have a show Hall of Famer back that we haven't had in a while. And the pre-show, if the pre-show is an indication of how great this show is going to be, then you guys are in for a treat. It's Wosny Lambre here. Let me give you a little idea about the pre-show. So eventually we're going to get to some basketball talk. We got a lot of good basketball topics. One of my favorite things about Charlie being my producer and co-host is I'll say one thing 30 minutes before the show, and Charlie will take it on some sort of ridiculous rabbit hole, and then there's gold on the other end. That's one thing that I think Charlie's going to inform us of the gold that he found. Another thing is Wosny and Charlie together talk about the type of people they hate. It's magical. I don't know if that's going to make it into the show, but that's magical.
That's the OnlyFans version of the show. We can't put that out to the public.
That's true. They got to pay for it.
You got to give us $10.99 a month for that.
I'll tell you one thing, though. You know you have a good buddy when you can just hate on together.
Oh,
There's nothing more fun than that.
100%.
All right, Charlie, can you please, I think this is worth, we don't do a lot of baseball talking here. I gave it DiMaggio off top.
Shout out to the DiMaggio.
Wosny has not heard the stuff that you were telling me. I think it's worth it if we jump into this particular story.
Okay, so I'm fascinated by steroid Barry Bonds. To me, it's like the best thing that I've ever watched.
Whoa. Not on this show, we won't. Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds,
name.
but particularly juice to the gills, Barry Bonds.
Hey, did he get caught?
Kind of. Like a perjury trial.
A little bit.
But when he was like hitting balls.
I did the best I could, Barry.
Well, shout out to Barry Bonds, who recently said he could still hit 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
That.
I watched
if I can
that.
see it, I can hit it.
I watched that entire podcast and loved it.
Oh man, that's one of the things too. Is like, I don't know if he's right or wrong. I don't know baseball well enough to know that.
No,
but
he can do it.
I know. Okay, good. Never mind then. Then I have no further comments. All right, proceed.
The dude beat Giancarlo Stanton in a home run derby when he was a hitting coach for the Marlins like 10 years ago. And one of the things is like Christian Yelich has talked about it, that it was impossible for Barry Bonds to actually coach them because his hitting advice was just catch the ball with your bat.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah.
When I got drafted by the Broncos, I was out there with Champ, and I was like on the plane, excited. I'm gonna do everything that he does. It ain't take but one day to be like, I can't. Like my body don't work like that. I can't just simply flip my hips.
I mean, you gotta just simply flip the hips.
I don't even know who the last great player, good NBA coach was. It's probably like Larry Bird, to be honest.
Yeah.
And even he was like, the coaching is too stressful for me, and just went into the front office. So like, great players aren't good at it.
We were talking in the pre-show about David Thompson kind of being like the first like super athlete NBA type of player, and then
some people say Elgin Baylor, but yeah.
Shout out.
That's what set us on this course. Is I was like, if they didn't play basketball, what did super athletes play before? And then Charlie was like, baseball. That makes sense. We saw that Willie Mays was the #1 quarterback in the state of Alabama. Like that makes sense. All the great athletes went there.
Mickey Mantle, Jackie Robinson was like all-American track running back, baseball player at UCLA. Could have been an Olympian or NFL star.
Racism ruined it all. But that led us, we still haven't gotten to the Barry Bonds story. Let's get to the Barry Bonds story.
So the reason we were talking about Willie Mays, and if you look at freeze frames, like his swing, like the finish of his swing is so similar to Barry Bonds as his godfather. And I unveiled this fact. This is from an old Jeff Pearlman Barry Bonds book, that when he was at Arizona State, they're going into the College World Series, and I'll just say it, he's a generational dickhead to his teammates. Once in a generation. And so like you're in college, you know this. Yeah, sure.
I mean, I don't know which one is
nice.
worse. Oh, you think?
I was trying to be nice.
I don't know.
But Domonique, you probably know this. How big of a prick would you have to be if you are the best player in the country on a college team, and for your teammates to not just dislike you, but their coach brought the team together before the College World Series and said, we're going to let you guys decide, since you dislike Barry Bonds so much, if you want to vote him off the team. 28 of the 30 players voted him off the team. two of the
It gets better.
the two teammates who didn't, apparently the support was tepid. This is a coach at Arizona State who had kicked its player off the team for tearing his oblique. They temporarily kick Barry off the team, and then the coach leaves the room and comes back and he's like, I can't do it. It wasn't unanimous. Out of spite, Barry Bonds gets 7 consecutive hits in the College World Series. They still lose to Cal State Fullerton. The entire team consoled each other, except for they refused to console the coach or Barry Bonds, who just were left alone after it.
That's amazing.
Oh man. So is that level of the only justifiable trade for Luka Doncic? Like, you have to be that level? Is that, if you are that bad?
They never traded Barry Bonds.
I know, but I'm just saying, if it came out that all but 2 people, I guess because the basketball roster is smaller, it'd be all but a fraction of 2 people were like, hey, we want to keep this guy.
I mean, when I think to dirtbag teammate behavior, the first thing that comes to mind is Draymond Green and Jordan Poole. And he didn't get traded. Jordan Poole did. But you have to wonder, like, I guess if he would have did that to Steph, he would have got traded. But I think the genius of Draymond Green is he knows exactly who to do these insane things to and who not to.
Of course. And the thing about the Draymond, I guess, never mind. I was about to say that was an isolated incident. But Draymond does have a track record. I apologize. That one incident was not an isolated incident. I'm sorry to my good friend Kevin Durant.
It was an isolated incident that it got caught on tape.
Yeah, I'm sure. But that's the thing. It's like it became a bigger deal because it was public.
Yeah.
Punches, like that's a sports thing.
I think Draymond had so many things happen that people would say, like, wow, this is bad teammate behavior, just in the sense that he's putting himself at risk of not playing. The Rudy Gobert thing comes to mind, where he just put the guy in a headlock basically because he won 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards, like, and no other reason. Like, Rudy Gobert was playing peacemaker. Draymond goes over there because he has a vendetta against the guy and puts him in a chokehold. He's just got a legendary run.
Rudy started the American pandemic. So
but also, you got to admit that moment. Thank you for that, because that led us to, it was Nurkic. You said after that brother needs help. One of the all-time memes, reusable to this day.
That brother needs help from a yerk. Oh man, we got to get to the top. I guess that's a good transition right into the Warriors conversation. Go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah. So the Warriors, to me, the Jimmy Butler trade happened, and I think we're all fans of what Jimmy Butler can do as a basketball player, but so much time had passed in Miami where it was really ugly at the end, that by the time he got to Golden State on this discount, it was really hard to imagine this Golden State team that we thought was, in the mausoleum, in the crypt at this point, could become a really good team again. And they have been awesome since they got Jimmy Butler. They've won a bunch of games and even won games with Steph out in a way that everything slotted into place. And a lot of that hype immediately after the deadline was looking at, Luka and the Lakers, and rightfully so, because they're in this conversation as well. But I want to ask you, Waz, when you look at the Western Conference, you got the Lakers, the Grizzlies, the Rockets, the Nuggets. But do you think the Warriors are now the biggest threat to the Thunder in the West?
I would still lean Nuggets because they still have the best player in the world. And when their entire group, who has, collectively have a championship DNA, because I think Golden State has championship quality players in Draymond and Jimmy Butler and obviously Steph Curry. I just think, institutionally, they haven't done it together as a collective, right? Whereas the Nuggets, they have a core and a nucleus that have done it together. So I think in big spots, I tend to trust them a little more because of the collective, because of who Jokic is. But it's not by some crazy amount. Golden State has reached a different level. Their defense has taken to a different gear. They were like 10th in the NBA before the Jimmy trade on defense. They're now number 2. And it's Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler quarterbacking the entire defense. It's not just that these guys are generational basketball minds, is that these dudes are highly motivated people right now. Like, they have a chip on their shoulder and something to prove, and they believe in the collective talent. And the bottom line is, man, like we say, it's been a while since Jimmy Butler showed this. Like, they went to the finals in 2023 with an undermanned, not super talented Miami Heat team. Last year, he was about to do well in the playoffs again, and a guy fell on his leg. A 275-pound dude fell on his leg in the playing game. And so, he had to leave the game with a legitimate injury. This isn't like Jimmy Butler hasn't shown that he has what it takes in a big spot to do what he has to do. I think he got to Golden State, realized they wanted to get the hell up out the play-in, and so they've been playing do-or-die basketball since he got there, and I think these have been the results. And it's just obvious. And the idea that the Heat got rid of Jimmy Butler for a pick in the 20s and Andrew Wiggins because they didn't want to pay this dude is absolutely insane. They look stupid right now.
I mean, you could argue that they weren't going to win it anyway. But anyway, I'm sorry. I do not want to ignite. He got his money, and he's at a better spot.
It was also the money that I think we all would have been okay with. We thought initially, and Waz was on this last time we had him on here. People thought that he wanted the 4-year extension, $60 million a year type thing, and he ended up taking 2 years added to his deal for $100 million.
So what ended up happening? Jimmy wanted 2 years tacked onto the deal. Mm-hmm. The only people offering it after he blew things up in Miami were the Suns, who clearly have the worst contract in the NBA. I would say probably one of the 5 worst contracts in NBA history on their books in Bradley Beal. So because they couldn't move Bradley Beal, Jimmy had to settle for adding 1 extra year and I think $6 million more on a player option that he had for next year. So instead of 2 extra years, which he wanted, he got 1 extra year plus $6 million tacked on. But the point still stands that, like, look at what he's doing right now with Steph Curry. He's looks like an NBA star.
Right.
And we can argue that, like, nobody's been as good as Jimmy is right now since probably KD.
This situation is perfect for him now because in Miami he would have had to have been the best player in the team. And I think that it's fair to assume that that's not a championship caliber team. And it's also fair to assume that he is getting older and the injuries start to happen more frequently. The situation he's in now, where it's like Steph is out, then we need you to put up 20 plus and he can do it. Or Steph takes a break for a few minutes. We need you to run the offense through you for a quarter. Like, that's a much better situation for him. The other team that I think is worth considering is obviously the Lakers. I know Charlie's high on the Lakers, but the interesting thing about pairing these teams together is it feels like if you're going to point to one of the weaknesses, they both kind of have the same thing, where I'm watching their recent games and you end up seeing no real legitimate post presence and like interior defense. And as much as we love Draymond Green, there is no, like, they had post playing a bunch of minutes and broken Looney. What?
I will say this. It's rim protection more than post presence, because as far as getting the ball with your back to the basket, Jimmy Butler, Luka Doncic, and LeBron James are 3 of the guys I trust most in that spot in the entire NBA offensively. But if it's a rim protection thing, or if it's a matchup, like, I don't know, if you're playing a really big team and there's someone who's dominating at the rim, if you're playing Jokic, that's when it's like,
that's the question, right? It's like, it's Jokic, and I guess you would say that Chet's too slim for you to be concerned about it. Would you? Like, I still think Chet's size is a problem. These teams are big.
I think the only team that presents an actual, like, big man, kind of too heavy, blowing guys up out the way is Denver. I don't think you're worried about a paint presence so much with Chet, with Shea. Like, Shea's not going to be somebody that's just finishing constantly oversized. If anything, he's getting to the line based off of what he's doing to people in the mid-range and creating contact, 8 and 9 feet from the basket. I think Denver's the only team that presents that kind of issue for Golden State. But conversely, what Jimmy does in the paint, I think, presents all kinds of problems for Denver. His relentless paint attacks are going to be a problem. Like, that's the squishiest part of Denver's defense, to my mind, is the interior. And so I think the matchups are going to be quite fascinating, honestly, all up and down the Western Conference. And I think if
You like the Warriors better than Lakers, it sounds like, if you had to pick one right now.
I think I do, and it's because LeBron went down with the groin injury. And here's the thing. As good as Luka has looked so far with the Lakers, quiet as kept, man, he's doing all of his damage from the outside. He's not getting to the cup. I know Charlie, because he's so online, has seen this Luka highlight reel from his rookie year where he's dunking on people and he's getting to the basket and he's looking quick and spry. Like, he has not shown that since coming back from the calf. I would argue he didn't show it that much either in the playoffs last year. And I think, as much as Nico Harrison made a bad deal, I think this is what he was pointing to, that the guy's body has not responded in a way that it has in the past, even at only 25. So LeBron being injured, Luka, if you watch that Celtic game, he couldn't get past Al Horford. That's a problem. Like, Luka Doncic has to be able to beat guys like Al Horford one-on-one. And I don't think his body is there yet. And so to me, I like Steph Curry. I like Jimmy Butler. I like Draymond Green. And they're just collective ability to Jedi mind trick and beat up on these young guys in the playoffs a little bit more than I do the Lakers.
When I saw that Luka tape, for the record, of him, like his rookie year highlights, if he had kept that body type with the way his skill set developed, he would be, he's already one of the best offensive players. He would be so clearly the best offensive guard in the NBA. Someone who's I don't know. It's impossible to say someone could be as good offensively as Jokic is now, but maybe even in that tier, because if you added quickness to the way that his handle and his jump shot improved from that point, it would be size. Yeah. And so
guys could not stay in front of Luka Doncic back in the days. Like, people need to understand this. Like, this guy was a dribble threat to get to the basket, the stop and start, hesitation, change of gears. I would say he was doing that before Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was. And because of the leg stuff, it's not there yet. Maybe it'll come back, but right now it doesn't feel like it's there yet.
Yeah. He's gonna need a little sabbatical with LeBron this summer, and he'll be just fine.
You never know.
Watching both of those offenses run through Steph, and I guess Steph didn't play in the last game, but when you watch him, I see the point that you're making about the impact that Steph makes on the defense. We think of Steph as exclusively a shooter, but he gets in the paint so often, and it creates havoc for defenses. Luka doesn't have that, but you still see him just off the high pick and roll, it creates havoc for defenses because his shooting ability and his passing ability, teams don't know what to do with him. And then once you create that rotation, that's the thing that we talked about before the trade, before we started seeing them play together, was, can you imagine that you get a double and create a rotation, and the person you're passing it to when you have a 4-on-3 is LeBron damn James? That we haven't seen or seeing that in the playoffs, and imagining how players with that type of IQ can adjust rapidly like that also scares me for that team.
To me, Luka Doncic, if you try to play a conventional pick and roll against Luka Doncic, you are going to get burnt. You're going to get killed. I think the best defenses, like a Boston, like a OKC, I would even put Cleveland, although I don't know that they necessarily have a wing matchup. If it did somehow come to that in the finals for Luka, I think the best teams.
LeBron versus Cleveland. Can you imagine?
Oh my God.
Adam Silver's in his bag.
Oh yeah.
Do it, Adam.
The algorithm is algorithming. I think the best teams are going to not play the Lakers with conventional pick and roll and dare Luka to beat them one-on-one and send as little help as possible and dare him to be one of the best players on the planet.
I totally agree. And I think that's a lot of what the Celtics did last year in the finals. I think they have a unique blueprint because of how versatile they are defensively, but it's still a blueprint. One of the things I find so fascinating about this Western Conference is, one, I think it's hard to believe in any team until they do it, but OKC is so good, and they're so good defensively, and they have so many guys, but there's a split. And why it feels so wide open to me is, obviously, you have the younger teams, you have the teams with depth, the OKC, the Rockets, I don't know how young the Grizzlies actually are at this point, but they still feel like a younger team.
They're a young team.
And then the Lakers and Warriors, both of these trades weren't traditional superstar trades. It was a turbo boost to the team IQ. That's the thing that you talked about with Jimmy. The decision making happens so much faster offensively for these teams now, and that was the big complaint about both LeBron and Luka's teams in the last couple of years. It felt like it was in mud. The offense was in mud. It was so stagnant. These guys are going to make every single decision. And now the ball moves. And you see with Golden State, like, yeah, of course, that original team was built on shooting. Any team with the two best shooters of all time. But it was also built on the fact that they took it to the extreme of all the Popovich stuff, which is within 1 second, you make a decision of what you're doing with the basketball. And Jimmy Butler's brought that back for me for the first time, honestly. Like it was so on easy mode when they were better than everyone with Durant that they were able to coast on that stuff. This is the most it feels like as an offense since the 14 through 16 Warriors, where the ball is pinging around and Steph seems like he's going to make rain for 6 minutes and he's going to have 18 points or something.
So one of the biggest reasons why I was mega bullish on the Jimmy deal is, one, I just knew this guy motivated, like people basically saying you're not good anymore. You're not worth, $120 million with $120 million in your pocket, basically is what they were saying to him. I knew he'd be motivated. And two, people kept talking about a fit. Oh, Draymond Green doesn't shoot. Guys, if you guys remember the bubble run for Miami and 2023, the offense that Spo was running in Miami was literally stolen from Steve Kerr. Like they were basically, I guess you would say, they were generating chaos on the perimeter via elite shooting with Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero. That's what they were doing in 23. And yes, Gabe Vincent made shots and Caleb Martin made uncanny shots against Boston. And I understand that. But Jimmy already played in a movement-based sort of continuity offense, Bam being in the Draymond role. He already did this in Miami, this idea that they would invert this, where the big man would be setting all the screens for the shooters up top and Jimmy would operate as the post player. They already did this. Jimmy already did this. So now instead of Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson and Gabe Vincent, he's doing it with Steph freaking Curry. Yeah, I think it's going to work. I think there's a balance to what these guys do in the terms of Jimmy living at the free throw line, a dynamic that they've never had. This guy lives at the free throw line, and all of the chaos that Steph, sort of produces out on the perimeter. It's a match made in heaven.
This falls into the category. Anyone who was bearish on that deal, I think it falls into the category of the type of nerds that are not fun, whereas you're overthinking this thing because
too much.
Fundamentally, is he good? Well, yeah. Is the coach smart? Yeah. We gonna figure this out. Don't pass up on good players because you think that you've figured out, you've mastered how basketball works.
I think I was one of the dumb people. Not that I didn't think it was that Jimmy Butler's going to be good there, but I didn't realize how quickly it would look like this. And I thought that core might have been done of competing for championships and they're really good.
I think what people got to understand, too, about 2022, the championship that they won, beating Boston on the way, beating Luka on the way. Wiggins was basically a one-on-one killer. It wasn't just that he would get the ball and isolate. It's the few times that he would be asked to dominate a matchup when they were dumb enough to put a smaller guy on him or a bigger guy that he could just out quick or make a wide open jump shot. He was able to answer the bell so many times in 2022, specifically the second half of that season. And obviously never did that again. The question was can Jimmy Butler be better than Andrew Wiggins? This is the fundamental question that we were asking, which is just insane. This is just an insane proposition. Even if you say all right, we haven't seen this since 2023. This guy was always going to be much better than Andrew Wiggins.
I was going to try to defend the insane by saying not better than Andrew Wiggins, but better than Andrew Wiggins was in that run. But at the same time, Jimmy Butler was taking very under-talented teams to the NBA Finals.
Hayward Highsmith touched the floor in the NBA Finals, guys.
Jimmy got a lot of people paid, man. Got a lot of people paid, man. If the Heat didn't want to pay him, I feel like Duncan Robinson owed him a check. Gabe Vincent.
The Strus family will be sending him Christmas cards from now till kingdom come, guys. What are we doing here?
Man. I still don't understand how it's possible that he's this much better in the postseason too.
I don't think it's that hard to understand if the brand that he has to play is physically grueling, right? It's getting to the most fought over real estate on the court, which is the paint, taking hits, getting to the free throw line. Like, it's a physically taxing style of play. And so, like, a lot of times it's like, yo, sit back here and shoot some mid-rangers for a little while, or, basically delegate to my teammates and not take it over. But, like, I understand why he saves himself. It's a physically grueling style. But when he's going, just watch the Bucks game, man. Like, this guy is just physically overpowering people who calling themselves wing defenders.
I watched that game this morning, and while you're right, I noticed all those things. I also noticed there were a couple times where he was matched up on Lopez and Giannis because of that size issue that they have. So that still is there. But the funny thing about this conversation that we're having is it started by Wozni telling us that the team that is the biggest threat to the Thunder is the Nuggets, and then we proceeded to talk about the two more interesting teams for the rest of it because, like, I mean,
content is king, guys. Come on.
It's also like we could go on glazing Jokic forever, and it'll just annoy our listeners. Waz, you have Jokic for MVP or SGA?
As of a week and a half, I filled out my ringer ballot. I still had Jokic. I think, look, I don't believe in this narrative creep. I think it's nonsense. Oh, a guy won it 3 times. He shouldn't win. Like, who's having the best season? I think SGA is neck and neck. I'm not going to cry over it, but I still think Jokic overall, throughout the course of the season, I know down the stretch, like, they're losing to the Wizards at home and, like, doing, like, embarrassing stuff. But I think overall, throughout the season, Jokic, by a whisker, has been the best player in the NBA.
You made Charlie so happy.
Well, it's the exact same way I feel about it. It's like, this is an MVP where SGA's going to win it.
He's been whispering about it. But now you gave him the cover. You were the fullback for Charlie to burst through that hole.
SGA's a deserving winner. He's going to win the MVP. Super deserving. That's not the thing. It's like, I'm
not judging you. I'm just pointing out that I know you well enough to know that as soon as he said that, you was like,
This is different than 2 years ago. This guy deserves the MVP. He's having a historic season. His team is really good, and he is the engine of it in a way that's very
You
want to
know how
unique.
I know it's different, Charlie? We didn't NAACP this thing with SGA's candidacy. We had to pretend that Jokic's candidacy and frontrunner status. The fact that we didn't have to shoehorn in our ugly racial history in this country to make a case for a guy makes me know that SGA is actually deserving of this MVP award that he's going to win.
I would say that maybe the argument is that we shoehorned it out. Because it's always there. We never shoehorned it in. We just decided to shoehorn it out this time. But
wait, you really think Jokic won MVP because he's white?
No,
is that what you're saying, Domonique? Are you really doing this?
That's not at all what I'm arguing.
Are we gonna have to rename him Domonique Sharpton, Charlie? Like, what is going on? He's just a racial ambulance chaser now.
That is not what I was saying. I was making the point that race is always a factor. The fact that someone is good enough that it does not become a factor. I was just framing it slightly differently, but I am much happier being associated with the NAACP. I don't know what organization you want to claim, Wozni. You can claim something else.
Man, I don't know. But SGA is a deserving winner.
We don't have absolutely.
But you were so happy that Wozni said.
Well, I feel the same way. It's like there's not just because Jokic.
Just say you was happy. We can move on to the next question.
The way you're saying I was happy, that's doing more than my actual feelings.
Charlie,
the implications of my happiness.
Charlie,
Wozni, don't come here and say him again.
I'm gonna save him. It's no different than Draymond Green saying, "Oh, I've only won one, and so I should be considered for Defensive Player of the Year." Like, it's just a nonsense argument to take into account past awards, wins or losses or runners up or whatever, and take it into account for, doling out these awards if we're going to take it seriously and we're going to claim that these awards are handed out based on merit.
All right. What's next, Charlie? What do you want to do next?
So I do want to talk about there's some of the interesting upstart teams because I've been sort of fascinated by the Rockets and the Pistons and their impressive turnarounds. Like Udoka is one of my favorite coaches in the league because the team takes on this personality that is uniquely different, and you flip on League Pass and they're one of the teams that plays so hard. And Amen Thompson, I'm sort of probably late to the party here. one of the most fun and unique players in the entire league, and he can't even shoot yet. He's a guard who will routinely have these high rebound games, and athletically it looks like a big Westbrook sometimes. But the Pistons on the other side, they have surrounded Cade with shooters for the first time in a roster that's not all that impressive. The team's going to get the 6th seed in the East. Cade Cunningham went from someone who was sort of a blah number 1 overall pick to like a legitimate All-NBA guy this year. Two-parter on this one. What turnaround do you think has been more impressive when you look at the future? Which of these rosters do you like better?
I think the Houston turnaround is more impressive because it's always harder to go from competence. Like the more competent you are, the harder it is to level up. Right. And so because the Pistons went from being the type of team that loses 30 straight NBA games somehow in the year of our Lord 2023 or 2024, whatever it was, it's just easier. Not to say it's easy. It's easier to go from that to what they're doing now in terms of respectability. I think Houston going from, all right, we're a playing team to, all right, we're fighting for number 2, 3, 4 seed in the West is a crazier turnaround. And the fact that they're doing it without a Cade Cunningham type. They don't have a sort of formidable ball dominant wing type of orchestrator. They're piecing their offense together piecemeal. Fred VanVleet is one of the 2 most important offensive players on this team. I love Fred VanVleet. I'm the captain of the Fred VanVleet fan club. However, this man should not be responsible for the number 2 seeds, generating offense on a consistent basis, right? So to take the sum of those parts and make that into what they have in the Western Conference, and to do it behind, man, just a nasty, gritty defense. They're not afraid to get in people's faces. They will pick fights with anybody. I know Dylan Brooks is a big part of that. I just love their physicality. I love that they play on a string. I love that Reed Shepherd, who I watched in Summer League and completely fell in love with this guy, and Ime Udoka's like, yeah, I get it. You the number 3 pick in the draft. If you don't play defense, you don't get to play for my team. I just respect that, because I think with young teams, you're always straddling the line between offering playing time so that they can develop, but not just arbitrarily giving it out. Right? Like you want it. There's a line you're straddling when you're trying to develop talent to put people on the floor. And Ime's like, no, you got to earn it.
I'm sorry, Wosny, but Charlie, I remember there was a time when Wosny was coming on the show. I knew me and Wosny was going to have a time, and Charlie was going to get jumped on. But no one loves you more than Charlie, because you were saying all the things that I hear him say away from it about all the topics. Anyway, go ahead.
This is one of my biggest things with the way people. This is a total tangent. This is one of my biggest things when the way people talk about 2nd and 3rd year mid-lottery picks that have inflated numbers in the NBA because bad coaches or organizations decide that those dudes need playing times to develop, or to just inflate their stats to make the pick look better rather than actually putting the team in the situation to win. And you see those guys, they end up moving to second teams and average like 8 points a game, shooting 41% of the from the field. And it's because all of these stats and this playing time was gifted to them, and it was artificial. And I know you have to see what you got, but the way Udoka's done it is so much better. Like what he's gotten out of Thompson, who couldn't shoot yet, is amazing. And he's not just giving that to Shepherd.
And it's cause he's guarding the hell out of the team, out of people, right? And the team has an identity. That's like rule number 1 of any type of NBA success. Who are we? What do we do well going into any given game, right? And a coach that gets a team to believe in its identity, or the identity that he's put forth, I think is quite impressive. I got to give it up to JJ Redick in that regard. Like the Lakers are guarding the hell out of people. The reason why Darvin Ham was yanking the lineups around last year is because nobody was guarding anybody. And somehow JJ Redick has convinced some of the same freaking personnel to go on defense. It's a credit to his coaching.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we miss about coaching is we want to focus on this across all sports. We want to focus on the new innovation, the cool thing. Yeah. And I think to your point, one of the things that's most important is pick a thing, be good at it. And I think that's, to your point, is like why my guess is why Darvin Ham's defense is not as good as JJ's. Is my guess is there wasn't a focus or an emphasis put on it. And probably also there's something to do with buy-in from the important players. But back to the original question that Charlie was asking, it's funny listening to you talk about the Rockets. I feel like if we sub out the name, almost all the same things could be said about the Pistons in the same way.
Yeah.
It's like this hard-nosed, aggressive defense first. Neither of these teams are like 3-point heavy and like a 3-point heavy age, and they're young, up and coming. Like watching the Pistons play, they're at that point in like team development where it's just so much fun, where it's just a bunch of young guys having a good time. They don't know how good they're going to be. It doesn't feel like there's a floor to their expectations, it feels like the floor to their expectations has been set, and the ceiling is wherever, and they're just having, and there is no like, well, you got to get out the first round, well, you got to get to this, and we're just watching it and enjoying it. Watching that team play is a lot more, at least to me, it feels. Comparing those teams is hard because I guess the question essentially is which one has a better chance, which then takes into account the context around them. But I know which team I like better. Yeah. And as much as I appreciate the things about Ime Udoka and that defense stuff over there, I think it's probably the Cade Cunningham of the situation. So I like the Pistons better because they got that guy.
I think the Rockets have more overall talent, but the Pistons, they can hang their hat on the fact that they found themselves a legitimate, on-ball killer. I think there were some questions about what Cade would be able to do as a one-on-one creator, that he's answered a lot of that this year. I think everybody always understood that he had just magnificent pick and roll instincts and that he was going to be an elite operator in the pick and roll. But the thing that separates the men from the boys in the NBA is if like a quality team switches out on you, or if you're not the kind of guy who can matchup hunt or bum hunt, as my guy Haralabob would call it. If you're not the type of guy who can do that, then teams can confine you in how they guard you. I think Cade has shown that he's going to get to the cup, he's going to get to the line. He can create space in the mid range for a pretty jump shot. He can pull up if teams try to go underneath the pick and roll. That's the thing that I think Houston is missing, which is why you've heard them in so many trade rumors for a KD and or Devin Booker or some kind of elite on-ball guy, because they don't possess it. They're doing it more as a collective, whereas Cade, where a lot of people cut their eye after, Detroit decided to pay this guy with a max rookie extension after missing all of those games, and even when he did play the crazy high turnover percentage, which is still a little bit higher than we want it to be, him coming out this year and showing people like, no, I'm that type of franchise cornerstone type of guy has been a big deal.
And Cade couldn't shoot when he didn't have shooters around him. That was one of the things we were promised when he came into the NBA, that he was going to be an elite jump shooter and play in the pick and roll. And then when you watched him initially coming out of OK State, he had a tiny bit of Harrison Barnes-itis. Just a tiny bit where it was a look the part all-star where it was like, oh, this guy, you watch him play a little bit and you're like, why isn't he one of the best players in the NBA? And then you looked up and you're like, it's just not right. Now he can shoot. They put Malik Beasley around him. They put all these tough guys around him. They found Ron Holland, and just having some shooting, even if it's Tobias Harris and Malik Beasley, unlocked him in a way that his entire game came together. And I think he's the most improved player in the league. And he's a legitimate number one.
I'm currently looking at the NBA standings, and
they're 60 in the East.
No. I'm not trying to undercut it at all. Yeah. I'm setting something up that could be really fun and hilarious. They might play the Knicks, and Beef Stew versus Cat. Oh, Beef Stew versus Cat is going to make everyone in New York very, very angry. Am I right? Like, all of New York basketball fans are going to be so mad at Karl Anthony Towns when he match up against Stewie.
I rarely feel this way for players, but I feel bad for Cat because it's like he's constantly got to try to beat the allegations at every single turn. Draymond talking about he's ducking people because he's at a funeral and craziness like that. And I still talk to Knicks fans who are like, I don't know about this guy, man. Does he have the toughness? Blah, blah, blah. Even though he's having a career year, that like his performances exceeded all reasonable expectations. I think the Knicks, that would be a hell of a series, man. I think the Knicks would have their hands full, even if I think they ultimately would prevail. That would be a fun series. But I think Detroit, now that they know sort of what they have and the potential with Cade, they can focus on, getting even better compliments in around him and making this thing into something that actually gets rolling.
I appreciate how you defended Cat without defending him. You just kind of said that I was a Cat guy.
He's good.
No. But the problem is I would defend Cat about his arguing that his offensive ability outweighed whatever paint stuff, like back when we thought that was it. And now I've kind of come off of that because I recognize, similar to like me coming around on believing that the short passing game was fine to replace the running attack. Nah. There's some things that just can't be replaced. And so as much as I think you're right in that Cat deserves a ton of credit, and he's had a great season, and you said he's trying to beat these allegations, but you didn't say he was innocent. Like, so he's trying to beat these allegations, and those allegations got to get beat, man, or they not going to win.
I think Cat has a toughness.
They're not going to win.
I think Cat has a toughness. They're not winning the title. I think Cat has a toughness problem, but it's not that, guys physically challenge him and he backs down. Right. I think that's nonsense. Yeah. I think his toughness is that he doesn't always make smart plays in big spots. He will do the
who don't have a toughness problem.
Three fouls in like 4 minutes when they need him on the floor.
Do that. And to me, that's a lack of sort of mental toughness to not understand time and possession in the basketball sense and do the stupid thing. That to me is Cat's biggest problem. I don't think he's scared of going after Jimmy Butler or, he's going to play against Al Horford and Porzingis and be like, oh no, what do I do? I don't think that's the case. I think he's just got to be a smarter player.
Yeah, I don't think anybody believes he's actually scared. It's just his style of play. It's like, for a guy that size, it's his style of play, right?
The social media compilations don't help. Yeah. The social media
I don't care about none of that.
Oh, you don't care about that, Domonique?
Come on, yes you do.
No, it's not. That's not the point I'm trying to make.
They really do. Yes, you do.
Charlie, please.
That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is his style of play is the issue. Like, if those things were not comparable, then it would have no legs for me.
You're saying he plays like a soft Euro.
Or like, well, the Euros aren't soft anymore. But yeah.
The historical way that people looked at
you said I'm saying it like I'm going out on a limb. Like, I respect your basketball acumen more than mine. Am I wrong?
No, he has been a soft player in the past.
Okay, moving on then. Nonsense. You two man. Y'all trying to corner me on that you obviously agree with me on, but still, you do like, hey, so you saying this, and I said that. You can't beat the allegations. It ain't fair. And then I get down to the get down, and y'all both like, yeah, you right.
No, I think there's some smoke to the fire, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Last big basketball one. Have you seen the stories from Tim McMahon that Anthony Davis really wants to come back? He's done the G League thing. He wants to play for this team. And the Mavs are sort of like, I don't know. We don't really want you to come back. Maybe we'll get a better pick and we got shut down for the season. I find this fascinating. I want to know where you guys fall in the decision of if you think Anthony Davis should play this year.
I don't think he should play this year. And it's because they have a pretty veteran group. For younger teams, I think the nonsense that the Sixers did and the nonsense that a lot of people in our industry advocate for, especially online, about picks and draft positioning and blah, blah, blah. I think that can be detrimental to the work habits of a young team. I don't think you should be teaching people that winning is somehow something you should not be pursuing. I think that's a problem. Somebody like Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, like these guys are professionals. They've won at the highest levels. Okay. These guys are highly decorated. They know what it takes, the type of work that needs to be put in to win. I don't think they would ever have a problem adapting to some kind of winning culture. These are winning kind of players. And so I don't think AD needs to come back because winning matters, right? I think him coming back would just be to prove to people like, yo, I'm not sitting out because I'm actually hurt and I'm doing everything that I can to play. And guess what? I think it's a great message to be sending to the public that like, I really care. I really want to come back and play. I'm the kind of guy that lives and die by this thing that I've dedicated my life to. I actually think it is great in terms of morale and PR. If not, I get it. The pick situation, allocation, whatever. I understand that.
It sounds like you feel exactly how I feel, where it's like, yeah, I don't like the idea of doing this, and a lot of teams that have like tanked in the past have kind of ruined it for the opportunity to make what I think would just be a prudent decision. Because once you made that trade, you need to do everything you can to make sure that it works out. And I don't know how this helps you in the short run. I also recognize that like you don't want to create this type of like give up and we're trying to tank culture, but I don't think that's what they're doing. So like I agree with all the things that you said about the message that you're sending to the players, message that you're sending to the fans, and I think it's a little bit of rationalization when I'm saying like, yeah, you don't have to worry about that with Anthony Davis and Kyrie, but also like he's a fragile dude, man. Like we can't pretend that he's not, and that's the biggest asset from the biggest trade in the history of your organization. And you don't have a chance this year.
Yeah.
So, like, I think it makes sense to try to regroup and make a run next year because they're not, like, losing on purpose because they think they're going to get Cooper Flag. Like, that's not the goal.
I just, like, so I understand what you guys are saying. You guys are saying it the smart thing to do, objectively.
Yeah,
With
it's to
that
sit
said,
down. Yeah.
Yeah, it's to sit him. With that said, this trade has taken on such a outsized role in the NBA culture right now. Yeah. And it's, in my opinion, impossible for the idea that Anthony Davis is going to think of this totally logically and that he probably feels like he's persona non grata, even though the Mavs fans are not mad at him. They're mad at Nico Harrison. And for him to be healthy, if he knows he's healthy at a certain point and not play, I think mentally he'll be like, I don't want to look like a
yeah.
Dude,
straight up.
That first half of which
probably.
was like that Anthony Davis game was just like the Anthony Davis career experience in a freaking nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
The first half where he is completely unstoppable. He is on fire emotionally, yelling at the crowd, I'm here. Like all of that stuff, like played incredibly on both ends of the floor, just beasting people and then going down with some like weird muscle type of injury. It's like, damn, I understand why he wants to come back and show more of what he did in the first half of that lone game that he's played.
I get it, but that's irrational. There is nothing that Anthody Davis can do that is going to make them
totally irrational.
Yeah, so like I get it.
I'm speaking from the emotional side.
Yeah, and I would understand that he would think that they would appreciate him for being a warrior. But like I laughed in the middle when Charlie was talking because it just the analogy. Charlie loves analogies. The analogy that hit me while he was talking was Anthony Davis is a break baby. He ain't do nothing wrong, but every time they look at him, they get mad and get reminded of the transgression.
I think you're right about the illogical nature of it, but sports are illogical. Sports fandom is not logical. It makes no sense that we root for these things in the way that we do. And like that's why I have a sympathy for wanting to see AD come back and do what he does, man. It's not what a private equity manager would tell him to do. Right.
This is the three-man game between us is really impressive because normally either I or Charlie is trying to steer us back onto the straight and narrow. And now both of the hosts of the show are off on the shoulder, and Wozny just guide this bus right back onto the straight and narrow. Yeah, he got nervous around Break Baby. He didn't want to get into Break Baby talk. He didn't want to do Break Baby talk.
I'm Haitian American, man. There's a lot of Break Babies in my lineage, so that's nothing to me. I just didn't know we were doing that on the airwaves of ESPN. So shouts to y'all for being groundbreaking in that way.
Oh yeah. Hopefully we don't fall through that broken ground.
Seriously. We're gonna end the show with some quick hitters.
Let's do it.
It's a little game I like to call Notes App or Nah. I think we all agree that it's hilarious when someone does something not that serious and they put out the Notes App on their IG stories and their Twitter being like, I am so sorry for the disgrace I've caused my family, blah, blah,
Yes.
blah, blah. So we're going to do, is this a real story deserving of apology, or should we just keep that moving? First one, Jamar Chase saying Cincinnati is a terrible place to live after signing a 4-year, $160+ million contract with the Bengals. Worthy of a Notes App or not?
Notes
Did
App.
not say it was terrible.
No,
you think so?
Notes App. Notes App. It's a Notes App. You can't disparage the city of the fans, especially as you're one of the richest people in the freaking city. Like, you can't do that to a bunch of like working class blue collar people and tell them their life stinks.
You get out of here. Get get out of here and stop propagating this foolishness, Wozniak. Nah, it's a hard nah for me. Because he did, to be fair, he didn't say.
There's a pathological exaggeration.
He did say it was a terrible place to live. He said, they asked him about Cincinnati. He was like, it really allows me to focus. He said, y'all got to get y'all got to get y'all food up, though. So, to me, so I would say nah. He kind of said, he implied that ain't nothing to do, it is terrible, and the food stinks, but he didn't explicitly say it. He signed the contract, and he nice, and also, like, he wasn't lying.
So, you know what, man? I take that back. This is a no. It sounds like he has an issue with our current immigration policy more so than anything else.
I think also we gotta, I don't know if there's gonna be like a graphic for this or something, but we gotta figure out a spelling of nah. I'm a H on. I'm
always a H. Always a H.
No.
Yeah, Charlie's a dub. Charlie's a W. And this docket says N-A-W.
No?
Like, whoa,
like, what are you from? Louisiana? Like Theo Vaughn over here? What is happening with
no
this guy?
for no.
What is happening with Charlie?
I would like to say that the way that Anna is spelled, the song is A-W-N-A-W. Great song. Okay, you let me sit and I'll move on. The Vikings have passed on Aaron Rodgers.
I love it.
Wozniak's favorite Aaron Rodgers, his favorite player.
Yep.
But in doing so, they gave J.J. McCarthy, again, I'm editorializing here, the most tepid endorsement possible where it was said to Tom Pelissero that he's our franchise quarterback, ... for now if he stays healthy. No tap or nah from the Vikings.
Nah, no excuses. Play like a champion. This is football. There's no crying in football. Get out of here, bro. Do it on the field. Get out of here.
I'm going to say no tap.
Wow.
Man, they left him out there. There was multiple weeks where they were like, we're mulling this over. We thinking about it. And then their endorsement of him was, we gonna get us a shot.
Domonique, they just went 13-4 without this kid. Who are you, bro? Like, who are you? Why do you deserve this like fealty? Like, you're crazy, kid. You've never done anything for us. We're gifting you this job. Like, you have not earned this job. Get out of here.
Okay.
Buck up, JJ. Man up. I'm tired of this Gen Z. I'm tired of these young people needed their padded all day, every day. Get out of here. Step up to the plate. Now we get to the bottom of it. Pay your freaking dues. I'm tired of these young people. I'm sorry. I'm done with it. In my day, you had to show up and shut up. That's it.
I see the grays growing out of your beard as you speak. It's more of them coming with every yell.
That's right.
But yeah, they owe that man an apology. Treat that quarterback like a quarterback, man. Treat that man like he a lineman or something.
Speaking of that, next one, an anonymous media executive said that Aaron Rodgers has little interest from media companies because he's, quote, insufferable.
No notes. Literally, no notes. No notes out.
Yeah. I'm gonna say nah on that. There were other quotes in there too that were pretty damning.
Loved it.
Yeah, it was some pretty bad quotes. But I think that nothing about the way that Aaron Rodgers conducts himself suggests that he wants this as a job, as a career anyway. Well, I guess going on McAfee all the time, but I don't think he wants to be.
Netflix documentary.
Yeah, that's different. I mean, lots of people have Netflix documentaries. Yeah. I don't think that he wants to be like a traditional in the booth or on a set type of guy. Like he wants to have his own podcast and like.
How much did you love Cam Hayward being like, I'm not going on a darkness retreat. You're either a Steeler or you're not.
It was tremendous, but it also was like, sorry, Cam, y'all waiting for him for a reason. So like, you can talk tough if you want. I agree with you. I like what you're saying. Sound good. But if that man want to go on a darkness retreat, when he come out and say he want to be your quarterback, Mike Tomlin going to slide him a little piece of paper that he can sign, and he going to come over there with his mushrooms and throw some interceptions.
A couple. All right. Do we all owe the Cavs a Notes app apology for not thinking they're the favorites in the East?
Nah. You got to do it in the playoffs. They got to the second round before. Like, what's the apology? No. Do it in the playoffs. Do it in the playoffs. Do it in the finals. Then do it again.
Okay. Can I my initial reaction was like, nah, or TBD. But then I thought about how we're treating the Thunder. and the Thunder also have not made a deep run.
Who's we? I haven't picked the Thunder to get out the Western Conference. I've been poo-pooing the Thunder's title chances all year. I'm not one of these Thunder people. Again, y'all know how I feel about young people. You gotta show me. I don't believe in young people at all. You know how people always used to say, "Oh, the children are the future. We're all right. We're in the hands of the children. We're gonna be so good." Not me. Young kids are doomed. They're cooked. I got no faith in them.
Wosny, I feel you on some levels, but it's all old people running these days. So, I would argue, give these kids a chance.
Give them a chance. Nah, I'm
It's
good.
different. There's a reason why those old people were put in those positions.
Your argument is that the young people are not ready for prime time.
And they made that choice.
That's fair.
Next one. Ron Washington banned cell phones in the Angels clubhouse. How quickly is he going to have to put out a no-tap apology for treating this team like children? And Domonique, how would you have reacted to that type of thing?
Yeah, so it was, it's in the locker room, essentially,
Yes.
like the clubhouse. I read the article. It said that they also want to expand it to the entire building. And I was like, what? He said he did it in 07 to 14 with the Rangers. Like, this ain't 07, dog. Like,
It's iPhone 1 territory.
Yeah, like
07's iPhone 1.
Yeah, I could leave my sidekick for all day. But the thing that was in the article also was, and this is the point that first came to my mind, was this is not your territory. At least, and I don't know baseball culture like I know football culture, but we would make police noises when the coaches would come in the locker room. It was very clear that the coaches, this ain't your space. Get out of here. You don't make no damn rules in here. You come in here. If you come in, you say what you got to say to a player, and then you get your out. This is our space. We made the rules about on one day a week, the lineman could play country music. That was fine. Y'all had one day. You could play country music. The rest of the time, Suggs was the DJ. These are the rules that we made in the locker room. We did not need nobody to come down and sort that out. We would give y'all that. That was the way, and you couldn't compete with the music. There was ways to clear these things out. The idea that a manager or ostensibly a head coach is making this decision is odd to me. In the piece, it talked about how the veterans are enforcing it, which then is all right, if this is something that Mike Trout believes in and Mike Trout is going to enforce, then it's fine. If it's not, you know what we gonna do as soon as the coach leave? We all getting on our damn phones. Ain't nobody finding me to get on my damn phone. It seems absurd to me.
Yeah, the top-down nature of this is kind of crazy. It should be the clubhouse policing itself, ideally, especially when you got a guy the caliber and the stature of Mike Trout and all he's accomplished in the game. Ron
They're losers though.
Ron doing this makes absolutely no sense. At the same time, these guys have families. Are they expected to be just incommunicado with their family because they're at work? I don't know. And I'm sure there's ways around it. You give it to you give them the number of an Angels employee. If there's an emergency, come get me type of thing. But yeah, I tend to think coaches coming in, this a lot of times, especially when you knew, it feels like bluster. So I'm against this. This is a hell no to me.
Only the second craziest thing my dog Ron Washington has done.
Speaking of that, and last one here. Last notes after
transition.
Mitchell Voigt of Michigan baseball.
He said he only did it one time, and he got caught.
There's no person in the history of that drug who's only ever done it one time. It's either
Mitchell
none or few. Yeah.
Mitchell Voigt, Michigan star baseball player, has put out a no-tap apology for pretending to snort the third baseline. Worthy no-tap apology or not?
Yeah, I'm going to say you got to do that.
Nah.
Thank you.
I'm going to say nah. These are college-age males, a.k.a. the dumbest, most obnoxious people demographically on planet Earth.
True.
This is what they do. Yes, you made a mistake. Get over it. You'll grow up, learn from this. It was fun. That thing passed through at least 6 of my group chats. It was excellent. The people absolutely loved it. No need for the no tap.
You don't want him to snort it. Don't let him get to third base. That's a classic. As back in Miami, you don't want to celebrate. Don't let us in the end zone.
But I don't think that the opponents had an issue with it.
Oh, Charlie, you're sick.
This is clearly the only one with children here. It's like, yeah. I mean, it's not. My son does plenty of stupid things, and you know what I do? I make him apologize for him. So, like, I'm
fair.
with you. Mitchell Voigt did something stupid. People do things that are stupid. It's very fun. We enjoy it. Oh, man. I'm fresh off of a flag football tournament where my son got in a fight on the sideline. He was doing head taps on people. I'm like, man, if you don't stop that. Sit your over there. I can't control him. So
All
I'm
the
gonna blame
baseball
Mitchell
kid
Voigt.
needed to do, Dominique, through the team's PR department, put out a statement.
Yeah.
Yo, my bad. That was stupid. I thought I was having fun. That wasn't cool. We're done. Keep it pushing. Not my
This has
personal
been
notes app.
An incredible show. So incredible that we fortunately didn't get to the last topic on the show because that was going to be a circus. Thanks so much, Wozny. I appreciate your time and your insight and your anger. It was very fun. Charlie, you're the man. Thanks to our great producers. I love you, Paul Bill. We out.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.